What's up, everybody? This is episode 20 of the Pitside Podcast, the Big 2-0. I'm back here just like every week with my good buddy Roger Craig. This week we're going to talk to Shawn Neisteadt. We're going to talk about some divisional changes that we've got coming up, and I struggle to remember the word synergy. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Pitside Podcast, where we discuss the latest news and developments in the G-Force Racing League, as well as other racing news inside and out of iRacing. Now here's your hosts, the A-Lit Outlaw, Preston Cranmer, and Roger, the Bassman Craig.
Yeah, so we're back. We're going to jump right in here in just a second, but we're going to start with our interview with Shawn. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name again. You'll get to see the outtakes at the end of the show. I already had enough problems with it, and he's already told me how to pronounce it a couple times along with Roger, so it's not a good situation. But Shawn is the track announcer at Huset. And I needed a pronunciation guide for this episode. This has been a tough one. And so he also is our announcer. He's been working with Advantage TV. I'm not sure exactly which one. I'm really screwing this whole thing up. But they produce our Monday night and Thursday night shows.
Yes, and do a great job.
Yeah, so we're going to jump right over and start our interview with Shawn, and we'll be back to chew the fat with you here in just a few minutes.
Real interesting dude. So, we're here with Shawn Neisteadt from Advantage TV. Is that so? You guys are, it's kind of a mixed up organization. I'm not sure if you're all under the Advantage umbrella or what, but it's great to have you guys on board. We are blessed with great broadcasters, and you guys have just been killing it, man. You've been doing a great job.
Oh, we've been having a blast with it. Actually, I have nothing to do with Advantage Racing TV. They're an awesome group here in our area, and I'm a racetrack announcer. They're a broadcast group, and so we cross paths and work together a lot all summer long at the real racetracks. And then last year when the pandemic hit, we worked together with a local iRacing league called the Sodak iRacing League, and here we are. We just keep working together more and more and more, and they're a great group of people to work with, and I hope that they would say I'm moderately okay to work with, and but we're having a lot of fun at the real racetracks and in the iRacing world.
Well, it really shows the way you guys get along, and Hottie Scotty. And I guess
I don't think that's quite it, Roger, but that'll. I think it's Scotty Too Hottie. If I'm not mistaken, that's a wrestling reference. But Roger apparently thinks he's pretty attractive too.
That was Rowdy Roddy.
Yeah,
you're thinking of Rowdy Roddy.
No, I think there was another one too.
Okay. I need a cool announcer name like that. I've been doing it 20 years. Scotty's been doing this for like 2 years now, and he's got a cool name. So I don't know. Maybe I'm Shawn the Average. I don't know. Scotty Too Hottie's definitely a great name, and where he works, it has stuck and followed with him.
So Ryan, I guess Ryan is with Advantage then, is he? Is that?
Yep.
Okay,
Ryan,
I got a connection there.
Ryan's the man behind the scenes with all things Advantage Racing TV. He does all their producing, and they've got a pretty cool group all around here. When I first met them all, they were all just like this ragged band of misfits, and it was like, who are these guys? Because when you work at racetracks, you see you've got your dirt visions and your then at the time speed shifts that come in, or your flow racing broadcast, and they all come in and they've kind of got this way about them, and then like the Advantage guys show up and they're just these down home, laid back, cool people, and then they just they make the magic happen. So it's pretty cool to work with all of them. Yeah,
that is cool. For sure, and a few things to talk about. We got I see the cars behind you, but also Huset. So I'm saying that one right? Huset Speedway.
Yes, sir.
So when you guys, before you came on board, somebody had sent me a sample of one of the races from Huset's, and I had watched that race, and so I was familiar with your voice and who you were and all that stuff. It was awesome. So I guess that's a great story in itself, the whole Speedway and coming back. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because
Oh.
our Joe Backus, who lives probably, I don't know, just a few miles from you. Where's he live, Preston?
I think he's in Crooks. He's not far from here.
Crooks.
Yeah, Crooks, South
Yeah,
Dakota.
but
Yep.
can't get him on our broadcast for the life. But anyways, it's a big thing for him with Husets and stuff. So what happened there exactly?
So Huset's is our predominant racetrack here in eastern South Dakota, and you could say for our region. Really cool racetrack. Been around for 60 plus years, and the backstory that a lot of people don't know is my in-laws were the owners of that racetrack for almost 30 years of its existence, and so.
Wow.
Through all of my adult life, Huset Speedway's been the place, and for people here in the Sioux Falls area in South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, I mean, this is the place for sprint car racing. I met my wife out there at the racetrack. She was the cute donut stand girl.
So I gotta ask you something. Then, did you get engaged at the track? Because Joe and I did. Joe White and I did.
No, I didn't. I actually got engaged in Vegas, but we did stop at the racetrack for photos on our wedding day. We made sure to do that. I had no idea at the time. So I was 16, and this cute girl in the donut stand would she always had my Diet Mountain Dew or my Mountain Dew ready, and then she would bring me like the extra mini donuts at the end of the night. And goodness, I hate mini donuts. I cannot stand those things. But I ate them, and then the more she thought it was a great thing. And after a few weeks, my best friend, or one of my best friends, was like, "Hey, you know that donut stand girl you keep talking to?" He's like, "That's my cousin." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then, fast forward years later, and here we are.
Did you at least tip him off that, hey, let her know I don't like these donuts?
No, I didn't fess up to that until years after we were married. But I did tell him, hey man, your cousin is hot, and I'm going to make a run at that. So,
so what? Did you start going out at that age, or
we did? We're teenage sweethearts. So
I think everybody in the room here was like that.
Yeah,
so that's
sure enough.
Yeah.
So, but Huset Speedway, I mean, so it holds a really dear place in my heart. The family had it up until 2015 when it got sold to a man who was involved in payday lending type businesses, and so he took that place over, which was really had a lot of promises behind it. Was going to take it to the next level, and owning a racetrack's hard. There's not as much money in it as people think. Even when you're a really successful racetrack, it's hard, and the upkeep is very expensive. And it was getting to the verge of the place was going to need was going to need some work in the coming years. So what do you do? And so the offer was right. The promises of the future were right. And so the family sold it to this man who was from Sioux Falls, which is our nearest bigger city here, right on the edge of where the racetrack's at. He ran it through 2016, and I was on board with him as his announcer as well. And I think a lot of us had some fun that year, but even though the drivers were getting paid an incredible amount of money, staff members were getting paid an incredible amount of money, it just didn't have the same feel for a lot of people that it did. And after 2016, in the 2017 winter, the legislature here in South Dakota passed a law that capped loans like the ones from his business at 36%. And his business was charging in a rate much, much higher than that. And so I think there was kind of well, if you guys don't appreciate my business, maybe you don't deserve my other business's attitude out there. I'm not sure. But we had one race at the racetrack in 2017, and then it closed down. And so we sat here without a racetrack in southeast South Dakota, in our area, in the Sioux Falls area, really, for almost all of 2017 and 2018. 2019, a racetrack on the other side of Sioux Falls by the town of Hartford opened back up, and I was lucky enough to be part of that. It's called I-90 Speedway. It's still open. Hobby stocks, B-mods, street stocks, and 305 sprints are their regular classes over there on Saturday nights. And then finally this last year, Minnesota businessman Todd Quiring finally, found the right deal with the previous owner and made it happen. And we had a handful of races out there this past year in 2019 or 2020. We'll have a full year in 2021, and it's so good to have our pinnacle racetrack back here in South Dakota.
So things are looking good.
Oh, things look awesome.
And you're saying it's hard to make money in that business, obviously, because when their daughter has to run the concession stand, that.
It was a full family business. It was really cool, and that's one of the things I'm always going to miss about it is years later when I was announcing and whatnot, my wife was working in the track office with my mother-in-law. My father-in-law was the promoter. My wife's uncle was the track prep and partial owner, and my best friend, who's in that family as well, is working right there next to me as the scorer. But it also has its drawbacks, like if you're in the family and you're doing the work and you're working at the racetrack flooded, and so there's a creek right next to it, and so a lot of hours out there cleaning up after that, or going to the bathrooms and sweeping the floors and snaking toilets. All the things that aren't the glamorous life.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're all required things if you're, in the racetrack business.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were back when you were 16. Were you announcing already when you were 16?
No. I got my first opportunity to announce a race. So, okay, I'll back up. So the family really was the Rubin family. Who owned Huset Speedway. They had 3 racetracks when I was a teenager: Rock Rapids, Iowa; Madison, South Dakota; and then Huset's here in Brandon, South Dakota. And so I was dating their daughter, and I'm a journalist by trade. So in high school, I was writing for our high school newspaper, and they had, instead of a program that you would come to the racetrack and buy and get like the same copy every week with a point sheet stuffed in it, they did a weekly newspaper for their racetracks as the program. And so I started going with them every night that they had a race at one of their tracks, and I would write their recaps and write some more of the stuff and some of the features for their newspaper that they put out as their program. Fast forward a couple years into 2018, as a fresh high school graduate, they were actually hosting 2 races on the same night at 2 of their different racetracks. There was a sprint car special at Huset's and a stock car race that they were going to do at their race in Madison, South Dakota. And the same guy announced both tracks. His name is Mark Tassler. Awesome announcer, great, deep, booming voice. And so at 18 years old, he asked me, he's like, well, I'm going to be at Huset's that night. Do you want to give it a try up here at Madison? Absolutely, because I did have interest in doing that. And so, here's this guy, this, seasoned veteran. He'd been all around. He'd done big-time NHRA races, All right, race fans, up next. Here's the man who's going to fill in for me next week. His name is Shawn. Okay, thank you, Mark. Here's your lineup. I announced my first race at 18 and went off to college. I started working at the radio station in Marshall, Minnesota, where I went to college, and I think I got a little bit better with my voice. And then that next year, Mark decided he wanted to cut it down to 2 nights a week instead of 3, so I took over that racetrack permanently. And so, that was 2001 and 2002, so it's been a few years.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to jump in. This is Wednesday night when we record this. So tonight was a disaster from so many things. I was trying to take a night off, and all of a sudden I get a call or a message that the street stock A was like a 20-minute practice. Like, I was in there last week checking to make sure I had the inverts all set up right. Like, everything was there. I have no idea what happened. Like, the first race went off okay, and so I had to. Now I'm just like, luckily I was home. Well, I guess we're all home these days. But I go scrambling downstairs to set up another quick one to throw it in there. And that was one reason why the other race got delayed. But it was just like one thing after the other. He went in and then, of course, if anybody watched didn't watch the broadcast, tried to watch the broadcast. But this is the super cool thing, and the reason I brought this up. was Joe was having problems, and it wasn't Joe's fault. Spencer Mullen, who was the Ryan Duggan of G-Force TV, he was an awesome dude. They were back and forth, and all of a sudden, I get this message out of nowhere from Shawn. He just pulled up the broadcast and saw it was dying, and what can I do to help? Like, we have got the best guys, involved with our broadcast. And Preston sent me a note, right? Like, how cool is this dude? And I know Joe's the same way. He's willing to help anybody. So it was really cool to see you. You were ready to take it over, run the back end, and let them announce it. I mean, that's just cool. That's just so cool. And can't say it says a lot about who you are, buddy. And we really appreciate that kind of dedication. And it never did get pulled off. But you were telling us just before we went on all the things. You tell us your side of it. You're just in there pulling it up or whatever.
Yeah, well, I was just going to sit down and my hobby. I go every weekend. I race these RC cars, and so
that's next.
This is my shop here. So I was just going to start maintaining cars. I was going to have a cold beverage, and I pulled the race up on my phone, and the stream was struggling, and I thought it was something here. I reset a couple things, and then I tried a couple different sources, and it was still not looking good. So I thought, I don't know Joe. I hadn't talked to Joe until this issue happened, but I watched his podcast with you guys a couple weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
So that's how I knew him. But you don't know in today's world. Somebody could be digging in their backyard and hit a fiber optic wire, or something just happens. And so
he's had that problem.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, let's see what he's got going on, and if I can pop on and can get it to go, well, we'll just there's back end ways we can make it work, and Doug and Joe could announce, and I'll be back here in the background, and everyone gets their race. That was the goal, but we found out the issues, whatever they may have been, were all out of all of our hands. So we didn't get her done, but we tried.
So it's still a mystery. It wasn't YouTube. It wasn't. I think you had said Joe. He was on Twitch and something else. It was it was same problem everywhere.
Yeah, we tried a bunch of different sources, but nothing worked. But
you're in South Dakota. He's in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like it's just so he just wasn't going to. And it's too bad because as we were talking earlier, the race tonight, especially, I think Kyle Parker was. He was disappointed because I think he led the street stock A's like flag to flag, and they only had one caution tonight. One caution in that 30 lapper. And then we were just talking about the second race, the elite race was like. Preston was right in the middle of it, like 4 wide, like almost all race. It was just incredible race.
Yeah, it was awesome. I sound goofy, but I was proud of everybody because everybody was side by side. Everybody was looking out for the guy beside him. Nobody taking too many chances. It was a great race. It's like you said, it's a shame it didn't get broadcasted. And if you notice, I'm not talking as much as usual. I am absolutely gassed. You can probably see it in my face, but it wore me the hell out. Like it's been rough.
That's when you know it's been a good race.
Yeah.
We tried it. There's no way it's an internet service provider deal between North Carolina and South Dakota. We are too far apart. But
that's right.
Yeah, hey, we'll get it figured out. Hopefully for our next one.
And then the G-Force is in Brantford, Ontario, so it's kind of like whatever. But anyways, so seeing those real cool cars back there, and I know there's a story there because I was asking you the other night. Jesse Bandy is the guy that put us on to you, and. Tell us about that relationship and where that came from, and I know that'll be the segue into the cards.
All right. So Jesse Bandy and I have known each other for a long time, and he's just always been that cool dude that'll help you out if you need help. So I'm in South Dakota. I'm in Brandon, South Dakota. I'm 4 minutes from Huset Speedway. The closest place I can go and race RC cars like these is Rochester, Minnesota. All right, South Dakota and Minnesota, they're right next to each other. No big deal, right? Rochester, Minnesota is 3.5 hours away from my house. So every week, my best friend Jared, who's also my cousin, and he races sport mods in the real world, and he races these sprint cars with me in the RC world. So every week, he and I and my 10-year-old son, Hayden, pile into the truck, and we haul 3.5 hours over to race RC cars, and 3.5 hours home late at night. It's what we do. But that's where I met Jesse years ago, and I don't remember talking to him a whole lot in my early years going over there when I was really, really, really bad at RC car racing. But I do remember pretty early on, like some of the things, like I remember him just stopping by my pit area being like, hey, what do you got going on here? What are you doing with these tires? And there's so many little things, just like in iRacing, there's just so many little things that you have to do right in order to be decent, let alone good. And he was always one that would steer me the right way. And then years, as the time would go on, we'd get to become closer friends. And I'm fortunate to have been to the legit, actual Bandy-built garage. It is a thing. It's a thing. And we used to hang out if we had a 2 or 3 day race there in Rochester, Minnesota. I mean, what are you going to do when you get into town early? Sit in a hotel room? No. So you'd go to the Bandy-built shop. You'd go to his garage and you'd hang out, and there'd get to be 6, 10, 12 of us racers there. We'd do some garage racing, talking about how fast we were and how fast we are with the other guys. And you could sit there and work on your cars. You could have a drink or two, and that's really where Bandy-built was born, and that's where I really got to know him really, really well.
Yeah, and I saw on your Facebook there your son's getting involved, and that's and it looks like he's in the booth with you too. So that's super cool, man. That is cool.
It is. He actually. So in the RC world, we break out our sprint car categories, just like the real world, our iRacing 305, 360, and 410. And for the last many years, I've been running 360 and 410, and I decided this year he had a year of 305 under his belt. And I decided it was time for him to take over my car in the 360 class. So I'm just running the 410 car, which I've had some success with this year. But I think in his 5th race out in 360, he won. And it took me, I mean, my goodness, I might have been 30 years old before I won in that level of racing. And here he's 10 years old. And so that, I get way more nervous watching him drive his cars around the track, but maybe it's because it's my bill still, and it's still my maintenance at the end of the day. But it's a lot of fun.
I got to ask. So I'm a little bit older than you. So like I'm from the slot racing, the time era. But could you show us one of those and talk about them a little bit? Because like, what's the difference between a 360 and a 410? Like, so it's
not a lot actually. So this is his 360 car, and the only real difference in is the motor. Just like in the real world, is the motor size. So this is what they call a 17.5 motor, and that's what we run in our local 360 class. That's the motor.
Okay, so I'm
there.
Pardon my ignorance. So, are they gas?
Nope, these are electric cars.
They're electric. So, you're limited to the engine size then, right? The motor size. But what about windings and stuff? Because, I mean, even in slot racing, the guys we use to take windings off the armatures and stuff.
Yep.
Can you do that? Is that allowed?
No, that wouldn't be good. So that's how you determine your motor sizes and everything. And I think sometimes once in a while some people try to sneak into there, but they've got all the tools to tech that stuff now.
No, okay. So it's kind of like...
Yep, your battery is teched. Your battery has to be at a certain voltage at the start of the race. We've got what's called the electronic speed control. Those got to be set at a certain level because you can put, you can add boost. It's basically the brains of your car. So you can add boost and whatnot to make your car faster. So in the limited classes like 360 and 305, they got to be, set to 0 in that. In 410 Sprint, we can do whatever we want with the motor and all that stuff too. But that's the gist of a car.
So so just like with iRacing, what's the secret here with that car? Like, what are the?
Well, he's not going to tell you that.
Well, I can tell. I set up this. He doesn't have to give me the settings, but what is it that is? You can change the gears, probably. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, you can change gears. So on this one, it's a direct drive transmission inside here. so there's not a real big transmission. There's, but the gear is right there on the motor. It's sitting there right on my finger. So you can change your gears, you change your shocks. So you got a spring, you've got independent suspension on all four corners. There's a oil fluid inside every shock, so you can tune by that as well. You can move, obviously left rear, right rear spacing. In the Outlaw class, we can run different tires, different compounds and all that. Wing angle, shock location. So you can see on the top of this is my shock's off right now. That's what I was working on. But I've got 6 different options for locations there. I can do shock lengths. I can change ride height. It's overwhelming when you start in this thing, and that's that's where I try to be the guy at the racetrack like Jesse was, where when new people are there or you see somebody struggling, to walk over and just hey, what are you doing here, and can I help you? That's really what I try to do, and that's what he did too.
So I can see now why Bandy's so fast. Like, he's been messing with those for years, and it's the same. It's all the same stuff you're setting up and adjusting, and that's wild, man. That's great. So here's a question: do they broadcast any RC races?
Yeah, you'll see broadcasts for them. It's generally not nearly as good as our iRacing broadcasts. Usually it's just a webcam in the corner, and you can hear whoever's announcing the race. My wife will watch a little bit of it just to see how we're doing, but yeah, you'll see that. And like at the Chili Bowl, there's the RC Chili Bowl, which is going on right next door to it. They'll stream that. If you don't have anything going on, you'll watch it. But I always tell people, because sometimes people are like, oh, we got to come check that out. RC racing really isn't much of a spectator sport. I mean, most places you're there 6-8 hours, and it's not going to keep your interest if you're not really into it.
But it is interesting how many guys in our league, have a background in tons of guys. So,
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed is it blows me away, because we don't have anything like that around here. Like we've got a few, and they're way far away, like you're talking about, and they're running like the trophy trucks. We don't have any like oval stuff or anything like that, which I have a feeling I'd be super into it if I had the opportunity to be. But yeah, as we've started to get to know some of the guys from the league better, you see pictures on Facebook, and they're got pictures of trophies, they're holding up their cars, and it's blown me away. I was like, before the league, I had no idea that it was even really there was a community about it. I didn't know it was a thing. So and my curiosity. So and if your wife is going to watch this, I know you may not be able to answer it truthfully, but the car you've got right there, what does something like that run?
Oh, how fast do you want to go? I mean,
well, faster than the other guy, I reckon.
Right. I mean, I think in this car, the battery's probably $100. The motor, you're looking $150 to $200. $50 for the set of tires. In this one, $50 for the ESC. You got the steering stuff in the front. You've got. The car itself, you're looking at $500 to $600. And then you've got to have a decent radio. Just like iRacing, you've got to have a decent steering wheel and decent pedals. So, you're looking. If you want to start cheap, you can get going for $500 from the beginning. I don't think it would probably be a stretch that I might have $1,200 to $1,400 in these cars, each of them. So.
There's that old fishing story, that I hope my wife, if I die, I hope my wife doesn't sell my equipment for what I told her I paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's fun, and for us, how cool is it that I get to go do it with my kid, and his best, the guy who owns the place is called T's Hobby Shop in Rochester. His son is the same age as my son. They were born pretty close together. They're best friends, so. It's nothing for them to get on a Zoom call on a Thursday night or something and talk to each other, and that's pretty cool for me that they've built those relationships out of our hobby. That's kind of a weird deal.
So is that just down I-90? 3.5 hours down I-90?
Just 3.5 hours. They're right on down I-90 over to Rochester. Yep.
Thank God there's no tolls on it in that section, like in New York State.
Yeah, no kidding. But hey, we'd pay it too, probably. We had it calculated at one point. I mean, just for each of us, just for the race day, your entry fees, your wear and tear of parts. I mean, and our gas bill. I mean, it's $100 bill for us to jump in the car and head off and start racing. And that's if you don't break anything that day.
Yeah, but if you're doing it with your son, you can't even put there's no price you can put on that. That's for sure, because that's just that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing, and the best part for me, I mean, it's awesome to see him win. It's awesome when I get to win, but the best part for me is when the guys who have been around it for a long time, the guys who've been there a long time before I started racing in this, 15 years ago, when those guys will come over to me when Hayden's not there and say, you know what, he does a nice job. He drives respectfully. He doesn't crash people, and that's really what means the most to me. And who knows how long we'll do that for a hobby, but if he can learn the lessons out of it, of how to be a graceful competitor and respectful competitor, then it's all worth it.
Absolutely, man. That's for sure. So how about you for iRacing? Do you get behind the wheel much, or?
I do. My steering wheel's right here, actually. I do. I'm not great at it, and I haven't done it enough lately to be good at it. I do enjoy it. I've never competed in a league yet. In fact, I didn't get iRacing until last April when the pandemic really got started, and this became my work from home office. I cleaned off all my RC stuff back there, and my computer and everything was there, and I needed something to do. And so just one day I jotted down what it was going to take, handed it to my wife, and I think the next day she said, yeah, do it, get it, you need something. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome. You got a great wife there, buddy.
I do. I'm a lucky man.
Sweethearts are the best.
Yes.
So I just kind of jumping back to our league. I've been asking the announcers that we've come on, and I always ask this, and the answer that everybody typically wants to give is we'll talk about it. So I always ask what driver stands out to you. And I know the obvious answer is probably Brandon Schultz. And I don't know if you've gotten to see him run a lot. And Jesse Bandy. Well, yes, obviously. Those guys are, for one, both extremely fast. And Brandon wins a lot of races. So we'll give him credit for that, too. But looking past that, is there somebody that sticks out to you that's, maybe not the one that wins every week, though?
Absolutely. Lane Snook. And I'll tell you why. I noticed him before I got a chance to interview him, that pretty consistent racer. And and the name just kind of sticks out. It's a cool name. And then I don't remember, I think it was maybe our second race we had done with you guys, or third. And I do the Victory Lane interview, and it was like, okay, this isn't a guy my age sitting around doing this. There's something a little different here. And so at the end of that interview, I asked him, I said, hey, how old are you? And he's 12. And so then I think, Roger, you jumped on later and told me, about all of his go-kart accolades. And I thought that was really cool. And it made me, kind of think of my son too, and how they're not too far apart in age, and how cool that is to be able to compete in something like this. And, and then I think, Roger, you and I talked too about your guys' league, how awesome it is that you can have a Lane Snook in there running at 12 years old, and, somebody at the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe. And that's what I think is really cool about the G-Force leagues.
That's exactly our average age. We ran the metrics a little while ago. It was like 38 is the average age. So, he's certainly the outlier at the bottom end. And like I said, we used to have Tanner Van Doren. He hasn't been around for a couple seasons, but he's making a big name in the dirt modified. He's 12 and won a huge race in New York State. So, it's good to have those guys in. It's just amazing how good they are.
Yeah.
Especially you get them in a fixed league and they're still just blowing you away. It just kind of, this sucks.
I did, that it takes me back to Hayden running at 10 years old, racing his RC cars, and I had a guy who's been around for a while, and he just walked over to me the one day, and he just said, hey, how old is he? 10. He goes, wish I had his reflexes still.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So did Lane? I didn't look at the results when the race was over because I knew we were getting ready to jump in here. Did Lane win tonight? I know he was up front.
I think, well, when I saw him, he was running fourth behind Shorty before Shorty got taken out. But so I think he might have been in the top three. I didn't really.
Yeah, I think he was. He was towards the front. I know that. But yeah, I know, and I don't know if he likes it, so he might get upset with me for telling this. But I know they call him Fast Lane Snook, right?
Ah.
So you can throw that in there unless Lane tells you otherwise, because I don't know if he publicizes that or not. I'm not sure.
He's pretty shy actually. So.
Yeah, I actually had the privilege of meeting him. So I'm in Virginia. I don't know if you knew that,
Yeah.
but I went up to the Tuscarora 50 this past year and camped out, and he's not far from there. They're a late model family. His brother, who races with us sometimes, Trent Brenneman, runs late models at Port Royal, and they had I think it was maybe Friday night, had a event up there. So I ran into him, got to meet him, and he's a shy guy, but he's a cool kid, and man, is he's fast in everything he gets in, and it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, he looks.
I know. Yes.
For his
age,
age too, he's smooth.
It's everything.
Yeah, very smooth.
Well, and now the other thing, he's with Bandy, so he's only going to get faster, man. So it's he was with our team for a while, and then Bandy, Brandon Schultz actually talked about taking him under his wing, and that's a natural step for him because they can take him to that next level that in the Bandy built garage, So it's so my question is, and you might not have one here for iRacing, your most memorable iRacing moment, if you have one.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough question. Probably here a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty laid back. I've been announcing stuff for quite a while, but a few weeks ago, Ryan from Advantage Racing TV was going to be busy. He was down in Arizona, and I produced my first iRace broadcast with you guys. And when it popped up on my phone that it was live, and the pre-race roll was still going, and I got to look at it, and there was video and there was sound. That moment, I was like, yes. We're online. We're gonna make it tonight. So after that, everything else, clicking the buttons for the cameras and getting the sponsors to pop up and reading the stuff, that was pretty old hat. But just getting it online, because that's generally not my area. So that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud of that moment.
And it came off seamless, because I joked to you about you could tell Ryan that we didn't even miss him. But having said that, and another kudos to you, buddy, because I think all that day you were working with Spencer, making sure the feed was right. You were checking everything, and I think that's the one thing we've noticed. We talked to Joe last week, and we know, all the stuff he does and how well prepared he is and stuff. But the homework you guys do, it's obvious. You come into the race, who's won the previous race, who's on the move. It's obvious you don't just turn it on and just jump in. You've done a lot of homework, so. It really shows in the quality of the broadcast, and for you to do that one, that was amazing, because we got a fairly heavy script that we throw at you guys for all the sponsors we got, and you did it all, man. It was just and then Hottie Scotty or Hottie 2 Scotty or whatever his name is. We got to get him on too, because he has a podcast, right? So
he does.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on here sometime too. So it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun when you do it, for sure.
We do it. He and I haven't worked a lot of actual races together. He does just some tracks that I don't get to a whole lot. We did cross paths the late model tour I announced. I worked with him a couple nights this past summer there, but getting on here, doing the other iRacing stuff that we've done together. He's relatively new in his career of racing announcing. He's been a racer up until this point, so it's been fun to help him progress, and he's getting better and better with every call that he has.
The neat thing is, I was talking to you guys after a race, and I don't know if Preston knows this, but Scotty doesn't have iRacing, so he's doing all this just, I guess, watching the feed, and does a great job. So it's awesome.
Yeah, he's got the feed, and then I send him a kind of a duplicate screen of my scoring stuff, and away he goes. I don't know how he does it. I would feel lost, but I'm one of those really weird announcers that, in the real world, I don't know if everyone always likes working with me because I want my computer set up and I've got my spreadsheets and I've got all my extra info and I've got all my scripts and I've got everything, and some announcers just walk in, open the door, sit down, grab the microphone, and away they go. And I can't work that laid back. So I don't know if I'm always the most fun guy to work with, but I don't know how Scotty's able to do it with that, but he does a nice job. He's fun.
No, yeah, you guys complement each other great. So it's been great having you guys on. It's just taking our races to another level, and really appreciate everything you guys do for sure.
Yeah, and
we're having fun.
That's something that I'm really happy with where we're at. I don't think we have any announcers that we regret working with or anything at this point, but the team we've got going now between you and Joe, and that transition, or whatever you want to call it, was obvious tonight. That synergy, I guess we call it.
Yep.
Where you just jump in and help somebody because we're all kind of working to the same end goal, and you just do what you got to do, and it's super nice because I know that's what Roger and I need because we have a lot of moving parts. We've got a lot of drivers, a lot of stuff going on. We have, an executive team, but we can only handle so much. So for you guys to just jump in and say, "Hey, let's get this taken care of," it's a weight off our shoulders, really, because otherwise we wouldn't get it done at all.
Yeah, and tonight, tonight was we've talked before about how Joe and Spencer are, if there's a technical problem, they're on it. Spencer's been excellent, but we had a guy on his night off and he jumped in here and rolled his sleeves up. So it's awesome. And like you said, Press, we've had some great announcers in the past as well. But I think, like you say, the synergies and the quality of the guys has just been excellent. What we got, and really, really happy. Like you said, we're in a happy place, other than when the broadcast doesn't work. But it's who knows what that was.
Eventually, you're going to have an issue here or there. So, for the most part, we're pretty solid. So.
And darn well right now, like as we're talking, Joe's somewhere trying to
Spencer,
troubleshoot this thing out. So it'll get there. But yeah, that was great what you did, man, and we really, really appreciate everything you do for the league.
Oh, it's a good time. I'm really glad to be part of it and having more fun than you guys know. So thank you guys.
Excellent.
Well, that's excellent. So yeah, maybe you have to get your son on that wheel and get him in the league.
He's better on the wheel than I am. I will.
I know.
I came home from work one day, and he's like, "Dad, guess what?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, I was on iRacing today. I won a 305 feature."
I quit.
Okay.
Yeah. Sucks.
I was like, okay, I can't be mad at that. And I actually got on one day. He had been in here, and I got on, and I started talking to somebody, and they were like, "Hey, was your son driving on your account earlier?" And I'm like, "Yes." Why?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, he was good." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So maybe that's what we'll have to do.
Yeah. So you come home and your iRating's up a couple hundred points or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder I keep getting stuck in that top split and I can't do anything.
He's not helping you at all.
No.
That's awesome, man. I think we've been here for a bit, so but I'm sure everybody's gonna love seeing this because you're an interesting dude.
This is as good a time as any to mention. Roger and I plan these interviews every week, and we say they're going to be 15 minutes. And I don't think that we've had an interview under 40 minutes in weeks and weeks. It's just a testament to how much fun we have with all of the guys in our league. So. Again, we can't repeat it enough. We really appreciate what you do for us, Shawn. We appreciate you coming on, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you guys for all that you do and for letting us be part of it.
Certainly.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
We'll look forward to seeing the broadcast tomorrow night. Yeah.
We'll be there.
So those gremlins better be gone.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shawn.
Don't lose any sleep, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
You bet.
Well, Shawn's an interesting guy and, like I said, quality guy for sure. We knew that before, but after tonight and him it was just out of nowhere. We were struggling trying to figure out what was going on. And of course, I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to I'm connecting Joe and Spencer and stuff, and see if they can pull some magic like they usually do. And all of a sudden, right out of the blue, Spencer or Shawn just jumps in, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's
Real,
one thing.
really interesting guy.
Sorry, you might have been breaking up, or maybe I'm breaking up there a little bit. But I think Joe gets some credit, a little bit too. I between the two of them, it was just got to work, and we said that with Shawn a little bit. But Joe was pretty sure it wasn't on his end at some point. And
Yep.
a lot of guys, I mean, and I wouldn't blame you if it's not on your end. There's nothing you can really do. Then it's you just say, hey, I don't know what to do, guys. Joe never quit working on it. That's a 2.5 hour long broadcast essentially. By the time you get done with the interviews and stuff, and the entire time Joe was working to try to figure out what he could do, even when Shawn realized that he was having the same problem. So, hats off to both those guys. It's really nice to have them get in there and get their hands dirty when something's not right, and we're not, because I have some tech experience and I know you have some to the same extent, but as far as streaming and all the server stuff, it's over my head, and those guys, they just go to work.
You know what? Like, you can get up. I found out you don't get upset about it because these guys are always doing the best they can. And
Right.
They're on it. It's not like oh, sorry, it didn't work. No, they're busting their ass to try to get it fixed. So no, kudos to them. And but anyways, yeah, Shawn's interested. That was a good interview. We'll have to get him back sometime.
Yeah, and so after we finished interviewing him, we were asking him more about the RC stuff. And that's going to be a problem for me. Luckily, there is not, and I say this, it would be fun, but luckily there's no tracks around here. I think I said that while we were live. But he mentioned the two companies that kind of sell the cars that they use, and I was immediately, even prior to recording this, looking up cars and kits and all this stuff, and it's a dangerous road.
So how you ran a great race tonight, but I think we talked about that already in the interview. But you're running 4 wide, but I got to bring this up because it's a shame that didn't get broadcast because that was a spectacular race. Shorty was walking away with it there, and then they finally caught up with him, and he got in a bit of trouble there. But you ran a great race, but it was like 4 wide, and it wasn't just where you were. I mean, it was a swarm. It was just and one caution. So we've had guys. And I'm gonna say it. There's a guy in an interview on a broadcast talking about all the weapons out there. Well, guess what? He wasn't there tonight, and they ran one caution. So who's the weapon? So that's all I'm going to say about that. The racing is spectacular, and it's been great. But and I got to do a call out too for my buddies that run in the afternoon league. We had 19 guys out for the 360s today. 19 guys. And we ran caution-free 30 laps. So, it's great. And the talent level isn't quite there in that league that is in the night league. So, kudos to all those guys. You guys know who you are. Average age, I think, is about 60, but there's a few kids in there. Yeah, it was great. But the one thing and the street stocks tonight. Again, that broadcast got screwed up, and somehow I have no idea how it was a 20-minute practice. Like I know I physically went in there and had checked that earlier in the week. So it's that beta UI thing doing goofy stuff. Guys can't get in on the beta side sometimes. They can only get in on the old website. But the street stocks ran great tonight. I think one caution. So the quality's there. Guys are doing a great job. But I'm saying all that, and then I gotta talk about the one big disappointment this season has been the elite qualifiers. So I don't know if it's the time, I don't know what's going on with it, but we had car counts. We've had 4 races. I think it was like 14, 10, 10, and 9. So that's ridiculous. When we can pull 19 in the afternoon, and we can only get 9 out for a qualifier for like a great race. So we're going to make some changes. We're wasting our time there, and we've been promoting them. I've been putting it out across Facebook. I've been sending it out on emails, etc. from the league site, and the response hasn't been there. So I think we're going to shut that down for the rest of the season. And what we'll do is we'll probably take a number of the top drivers and transfer them in permanently. So we discussed this earlier, the executive. It's not totally finalized, but we threw it around today. And the logic here is what we're going to do is, just like in iRacing with their Pro Series, they have the Road to Pro. So guys try to qualify. They keep the top 20, and then the next 20 spots or whatever it is the Road to Pro Series. Well, that's like our shootout. So we have the shootout at the beginning of the season. We're going to do the same thing. So the Elite will be a lock series once shootout's over. If you want in, you run the shootout. If you don't, sorry about your luck. Because running these other races at 7 o'clock isn't working. And we moved it to 7 because we had it at 9, and we weren't drawing much last season. And heard we were competing, I think it was Dirty Old Bastards or somebody. So we moved it away from there, thinking that would draw, and it's not. So anyways, so that's what's going to happen there. I'm sure there'll be a few guys, and I'll say a few because hardly anybody's showing up. There'll be a few guys disappointed, but you can't make a silk sheet out of whatever that saying is, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know that one. So
out of a sow's something. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's homework for everybody. Somebody can inform us what that figure of speech is. Yeah. So
you can figure that out on Tuesday nights at 7 because nothing else is happening. Actually, there's a recruiting race. A recruiting race runs the same time as that, so we still got a race in that time slot. We don't plan on substituting anything else in right now. It just it's not working. So, midgets were starting to get a little bit questionable, but there was I was in that race the other night. It was a Chili Bowl, and I think there was 28 cars, so it was great. And I ran that. We had a DC and a B main, and we might have had an E too. And I ran I went from the because I went from the D up into the B. Guys were saying I must have been watching a Chili Bowl because I was transferring up. But it was some good racing there too. So
well, I'm willing to bet the car counts for that division goes up just because of the Chili Bowl. Because I know I sat around all day Saturday. I mean, from the time that thing went live till I get together with my dad every year. Mom comes over for a little while too, and then she leaves because she's not staying up late. And last year I had to wake Dad up when the feature was getting ready to start because Tony Stewart was out there doing his thing, and he was taking forever. And I blame Tony Stewart. And Tony, if you're watching, I know he's not, I owe you an apology because this year you weren't there and it took every bit as long. And this year I was the one that fell asleep during the feature, and with 10 laps to go because nothing had happened to that point. Dad hits me and goes, "Hey, they're really starting to get going here." And he woke me up, and I got to see all the good parts because the track had moved around, and then it was just slicked off. So
that was a great race. Actually, it was a great race. It's too bad Chris Bell took that spot.
Oh man, and I think he was going to get Larson. I really do.
And it's like Larson said. Some of the guys said you ran away. He says, "No, there's no way." He was on pins and needles, and he whacked the wall a couple of times. It was a good race, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I saw a link today. I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I saw a link of his onboard camera that I think carries all the way, Christopher Bell's, all the way through the feature. So I have to go in there and see. I'm assuming the flip's on there. I don't know if the camera held on, but it was a great race. I wish they would make it end a little bit earlier because I can't.
At least our Chili Bowl, we went from a 5-minute warm up to a 3-minute warm up. So we didn't wait long at all. Our track was prepped.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but I think you're going to see car counts go up because I know that's what I was saying. We were sitting there watching that thing, and I'm like, it's probably around J Main time, and I'm like, yeah, I don't recognize any of these guys. Maybe I'll go run some laps. It's kind of getting the itch. So,
Glenn Steyer's had 4 GSR cars in there, and 2 of them got up. At least one was in the A main. I think there was 2 running the B main. So
I think Russell made the A, right?
Yeah, I forget the other guy's name. He was right up there too. But good showing by Glenn Steyer's team. So that was good to see.
Well, and so we talked about last week, and I felt a little bad about talking about sending them to decals and stuff because I think I kind of it's just squashing Kenny's. It was about Kenny, right? I mean, he's getting to run the Chili Bowl, and that's really just awesome anyway.
Yep.
And so after we shot the podcast prior to finding out that he was able to get his car repaired and got to run Friday night. And let me tell you what, he got out there in his feature, or it was his heat, and he was bad fast. And he led almost the whole thing. I think he slipped up in one corner and a couple of guys got past him. But, I mean, he was the class of the field. Like, I mean, he was the best car out there. So we were super pumped. You know, I was looking forward to Saturday. And I felt a little bad because I overtook the review committee thread because Ben's on the review committee. That's Kenny's son. And so that's how I initially contacted him when all this started going on. And I just took it over. It became a watch party, essentially. Everybody's in there chit-chatting about the Chili Bowl. And so Kenny's main comes up. Maybe it was the I that he was starting in, which is pretty good. I mean, you know, you're mid-pack. And so
800 cards.
Yeah. How much?
800, I heard.
No, it was only 315.
Well, where did I hear 800?
I don't know. That's crazy. It was, it's
315's amazing.
That's a lot of cars. But
somewhere I heard 800.
Well,
something.
Maybe I'll have to fess to that. I had originally told you guys it was 630 something because I put it.
Then.
Yeah, it might have been because I put it in a spreadsheet, and when you copy and paste it from their website, it doubles up all the column or all the rows, and so I'll take the blame for that one. Okay, anyway,
there you go.
315 cars, which is a ton, right? And so he's a little right around midway. And so I see his name popped up, super excited, sent a message to the thing, and I said, well, here we go. And Ben says, yeah, they clogged a fuel injector, and he's not going to make it onto the track. Yeah. And so...
I'll tell you, the other thing, too, though, was he killed the anthem.
Oh, yeah, he did.
That man can play. Like, that was absolutely beautiful rendition. Like, that wasn't just some guy up there kind of knows how to blow the horn. He was awesome. He did an awesome job, and that was great to see. We're proud of you, Kenny.
Yeah,
we're really proud of you, man.
Yeah, it was. It's cool. Just, I mean, it blows me away. Like, I mean, even Kenny Miller, you know, he's in the Tulsa Shootout. Like, and we're talking about all these RC guys. There's just so many people. I think you go into iRacing official stuff, and guys, they iRace, right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just blows me away how we seem to draw, and maybe other leagues are the same way. We seem to draw guys that are actually involved in racing, you know, and I think of some sort or fashion, you know. And I think it does. It attributes to the quality of our league.
Brendan Lacey showed up today with the old guys, and he was. You know, we're talking fixed cars, but he drives in real life, and I think he goes to college, so he's not always available. He's a busy guy, but he was gone. He had a full straightaway lead. It was just crazy. I got lapped by him. Like I said, we went without any cautions, but yeah, I was getting lapped by him, and I think I finished P10, and I was lapped about halfway through. Like he was flying, man.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guys you get. These guys that that they know the real world stuff and apply it. And
yeah, well, and it's the racing as well as the community, right? I mean, and I think we get a little bit of that local dirt track community feel from our league, both the good and the bad, because there comes a lot of fussing and hollering sometimes, and so we deal with that too. But it's nice. It's different than, I mean, we talk about this every week at this point. It's been 20 times, but it makes a difference.
And a big shout out too, while I'm thinking about it too. There's a bunch of guys just jumped on a review committee. I put out a help for that, and I think there's 3 guys jumped on. I think Trent was already on there as Todd Shaw and
Cameron Thompson, maybe.
Yeah, Cameron Thompson, and there was somebody else too. So they appreciate that, and then I put out a call for admins, and I had a few responses. Zach Chapman.
Cameron Thompson, too, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, he did before, but this was just in the last couple of days. So he stepped up, and it might have been Todd Shaw. Somebody's. Forgive me. There's so much going on.
Big shout out to whoever the hell you are.
Whoever volunteered, we really appreciate it, and we will recognize you somewhere along the line. I promise you, we will.
There's a lot going on, guys.
We might have just lost 3 or 4 guys. I don't know, but it's important. Like, I think it's public knowledge now that John Hine had COVID bad. He was in the hospital on oxygen, and he's back. But he came home, and like after a couple of days being home, he's trying to run he tried to admin a couple of races. Then he tried to run in his own, and the guy's finally in the B main told him, get off the track. He was almost collapsing. In fact, I think he collapsed today. He told me so. He didn't make a couple of races to admin because there's 2 or 3 guys at the top. They're overworked, and I know John likes to do that, but you'll burn yourself. Well, especially when you're fighting what he's fought and surviving what you survived. John Hine is just an awesome dude, man. But
I think you make a good point, and probably something that's worth addressing a little bit is I think from the outsider's perspective, it does probably seem like we have everything covered, but and I can tell you this from it's Rogers and our experience. Or I'm really struggling tonight. It's our experience where you can get really burnt out. We've been there multiple times, even when we've got an executive committee now that backs us up. It's still very easy to get burnt out. So that's one of our charges is to make sure the guys that are in there doing like that heavy workload, we need to make sure that they're not overextending themselves. And sometimes that's telling a guy, look, you're doing too much. And I know that sounds like we're turning down help, but we want guys to stick around for the long haul, not get burnt out. Because we do understand that if you get to the point where you just can't do it anymore, we're here for fun. So if you get to that point and you got to back out, we're not going to... Nobody's getting paid here.
No.
So if you got to back out, you got to back out. But
if you're giving up family time, that's our motto. The league's motto, family first. I mean, this is just a fun thing we do. And family comes first in all cases, every time. So, guys, there's some guys maybe need to back off. It's just because we're worried about losing them because they're high quality guys that we can't afford to lose. And there's other guys that have all stepped, whoever you are, that all stepped up. There's guys willing to step up and sort of hold up the foundation. And so just want a big thanks to whoever you are that we'll get that straightened out. But because there was an influx of names, and I'm getting them all mixed up. I'm too old. So it's great. Trent Verstraeten, he's just he's come out of nowhere and just on the track too. He's dominating on the track, but he's stepped up the review committee, and he's stepping up with doing some admin stuff. I'm thinking he's another guy 2 or 3 months down the road will be saying, we better watch him or he'll burn out, So, anyways, we kind of we didn't even intend to go there, but it is important. All the guys that are helping out in every which way, form, shape, it's all appreciated for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that. That's why it's to some people it might seem like we've got everything staffed up, and we're still asking for help. But that's part of the reason why. And I mean, we've been a little short lately too. People are admin things they weren't scheduled for. But that's why we have to kind of consistently query everybody to see if there's somebody that's ready to step up. So.
Yep. Ben Kulsh, but he was already on a review committee. He's going to do some admitting.
That's it.
So yeah,
that's it.
So
we just talked about him too.
There's still another name out there.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. This show is. We had a few outtakes because we couldn't get.
The whole show has been an outtake. I don't know. I can't talk at all tonight. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, that elite race took it out of me, man. I told Penny Lee was still awake when we got done, and I told her I was like, I got the shakes, like I got to sit down because I was just slam worn out. So it's been a roller coaster week for me too. Let me tell you, racing wise, this has been one of the most successful weeks I've had in a long time. I did get to run because we were, it was a federal holiday Monday, so I was off work. Got to run a day race.
Yep.
Had a great battle with Barker. Finished third. Got on the podium. Haven't been there in a while. Ran really good in Elite. Renegades. Finished 7th. So last night was at the Chili Bowl for the midgets, which I typically run. Terry, who's our teammate, really likes running the midgets because he's incredible at them. And so I've been running with him because me and Terry are kind of buddies. And so last night I decided not to race. I'd gotten home from work a little late, and I'm just thinking, I'm on kind of a hot streak, and I'm thinking, I don't know how I really am going to do in midgets. And so I skipped it, and I'm kind of wishing I didn't at this point. But
yes, sir, because I think there was like 28 cars, and only 16 make the feature. And
right.
I was afraid to go out there and just cause havoc, and I didn't. I only had a few incident points, and I don't. That was all on my own. And I transferred. It was, but Terry was in my ear the whole time and had me, got me smoother and smoother because I couldn't do a lap in the beginning. But
yeah, it's a tough track, and so, but anyway, and then Elite went great tonight, and so racing wise, it's been great. Epsilon sprint wraps wise, it's not been great. I actually started off pretty good, so I convinced Penny Lee to let me buy a decal machine. So that was another service that I wanted to be able to offer, my teams and drivers and stuff. If you want to decal your number, put it on like a Yeti or your car, or your car window, whatever. You got to give somebody a little extra, because I think most of the guys that buy from me are more into it than just running officials, right? I mean, most of them in our league and stuff. So anyway, I wanted to be able to do that. So I was messing around with the machine, just making some decals. And I was working on this actually. So I thought this turned out really well. Made myself a Yeti, whatever. And so I'm working on the decals, and bumped the flash drive that was plugged into the side of my computer that I had filled up with all of my data, because my iCloud was filling up my computer. Anyway, it's a long story. You guys don't need to know all that. And when I bumped the flash drive, and I mean bumped it, so just barely, it made the noise where something had disconnected, and I have lost every piece of graphic that I've ever done, save a couple of files that I had open when I did it. And
but not total negligence on your part. You had a backup in the cloud, but you were refreshing that or something, and never. I
had to pull it off. Everything was backed up in iCloud, right? And so I pulled it off because it was Photoshop and Illustrator on a Mac. There's a bug in them, and it fills up what's called a scratch disk. And so what I was able to do by moving it to a flash drive temporarily was free up a whole bunch of disk space on my computer, and it allowed me to do it and edit things much quicker. In fact, I was working on some wraps for some guys in our league, and was knocking them out, and they're gone. So I got to start those over. I've reached out to a few companies in town to see if maybe they're willing to try to repair my flash drive, but nobody's calling me back, so I'm assuming that probably means nobody wants to touch it.
Somebody's got to look at it. FBI could do it, probably.
Probably so, but I'm not sure they're going to be too interested in my...
I could tell them you were at the Capitol, and then they'll probably...
Whoa. Let's make that clear. I've been in Virginia. Oh, well, I guess I have been just outside of Richmond, Virginia, the whole time. Nowhere near the Capitol. Let's make that very.
That
clear.
Was a joke, by the way. I guess it was a bad joke. But,
well, I just want to make sure everybody knows that I didn't.
I'm sure they would make sure they found everything on that. They would get that working. But,
yeah.
Yeah. So, what else you got, buddy? I don't know if we got anything else here to.
No, I don't know that we do either. We were talking about it a little bit. Our episodes have we talked about it with Shawn, how we try to keep the interview short, never happens. And then we finish the interview, and Roger and I say, well, we'll just make it brief since we had such a long interview.
And then I go, one more thing.
and I'm pretty sure Roger's got one more thing right now.
So it could be a minor announcement coming out soon. We've got the Race of Champions, which Rudine Racing stepped up to sponsor, so it'll be fully broadcast. Thank you very much. But, and we've got, I think, 49 names, probably more than that now. From last week, we're up to 49 names of feature winners. We'll be getting a lot more duplicates, but, Preston and I realized we're not on that list yet. So I think it was in that Monday race, guys were just joking around. And so I think what we're going to do is those 3 races will be announced, 24 hours before each race. And they'll run at, say, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And we're going to have a participation series that runs before it. So it's for all us losers, can run the same tracks and cars. It just, it won't mean anything. But at least we can participate,
right.
Which is, that's the best I can hope for is a participation trophy.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that'll be fun, and just those are going to be fun races. So if anybody's hesitant to come out based on whether you're competitive or not, for one, we're setting them up to be difficult. Try to make them, I guess, difficult for everybody because it's the disciplines and everything are going to be nuts. And that's fun. It's supposed to be fun. The idea came apart. I know they used to do this, and I've always kind of been a Sebastian Vettel fan in F1, and I know he always participates in ones. They've run like KTM crossbows and stuff, and they do a race champions too. And they're not actually all race car drivers or all one discipline, but they do that usually after the F1 season, and that's kind of what triggered me. Like, why don't we do something goofy like that?
Well, there used to be the old IROC series, which might precede you. I don't know. But,
no, I remember that too. But to me, that was a little bit more serious. Where this is intended to be really kind of humorous, right? It's supposed to be difficult. And now we don't want people taking each other out because we're not going to get rid of the competition entirely. There will be a champion of champions, I guess.
I'm sure there'll be 3 to 5 guys at least that they're going for it, but. I mean, when you got 50 guys in there, so even the guys like from the Rustlers, our D division, guys from the afternoon, if you win a race, you're in it. So it's not like, there could be guys in Renegades who haven't won a race. Preston, he hasn't won a race yet. So I mean, there's some good drivers who might not be. They'll have to participate like me, just be in the participation division.
Well, and so that actually kind of triggers me to mention something else. So we'll be here for probably another 20 minutes while we think of other things. But I was actually I'm working on some upgrades to IRLM. So you guys may notice those coming up soon. Some of it's going to be back end stuff. I'm keeping that under wraps for the most part. Roger knows what I'm working on, but I think it's going to be a big difference maker for us. But anyway, I was just kind of checking some stuff out, clicking some data. I had another league approach me that is interested in using it now too. Yeah. And I was just clicking through, and so I checked my driver stats, and I was seeing that I'd run like maybe 160 some races and turned 6,000 laps. So I started clicking around, and it hasn't stuck yet, and I'm a little disappointed about it. But there is a reason we call Greg Boydell Ironman Greg Boydell. He has turned close to 11,000 laps, and this is only since we moved away from Dan Lisa.
Just in our league, not anywhere else. Just in our league.
Just in our league. Just since we started using iRacing League Manager, because there was at least 2 seasons, maybe 3 prior to that.
Yeah, 3 at least 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So no doubt he's actually over 11,000 laps, and I was clicking around that, and the names I recognize most often, and it's very possible I missed somebody because I don't run every night. But nobody was within 2,000 laps of Greg. That dude is out there. He supports our league. Iron Man Greg Boydell. He needs
to have Iron Man right on the front wing. He needs to go see Braden Finsel and get an update on that wrap and get Iron Man put across the front of the wing.
For sure. But I would recommend, if anybody hasn't done that, go into the standings and all the names are clickable. Yeah. So go check out your stats. Like, it's just kind of cool to check out. And I was looking at some of them. There were some guys that have won, quite a few races, and you look and their race count is actually under 100. And so their win percentage is through the roof. Yeah. And then, you look at me, I've run 161 races and won something like 5. And there's probably 3 of those were like test races or something that we ran. I don't know. They're probably all mostly road runners from back when we first started that, but pretty interesting. I mean, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff you'd see, but anyway, pretty interesting. I wanted to give Greg a shout out about that.
I've run I've run 205 races. I've turned 7,000 laps, 7,150.
Mm-hmm. So and that's enough.
205 races, 0 wins.
Well, so just to make a bit of a clarification, if you admin races and don't turn any laps, it will still count because your result you still show up in the iRacing results file, and
but it won't count my laps.
It won't count your laps, so your lap count is correct. So for 99% of the guys out there, that race count is going to be correct. But for admins, that count number will be slightly higher, just because, quite frankly, there's no way for me to filter out whether they were there as an admin or there as somebody who quit after qualifying. There's just no way for me to know.
Just keep your eye out for me, though. I've got 8 top 5s out of those 200 races. And 55 top 10s.
And so I think I had something like 55 top 10s too. So maybe we'll start keeping. You know what?
That was my goal this year, was to make top 10.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm looking mine up.
Yeah. I can pull yours up. No, maybe not faster than you.
Yeah, I got it. So I'm pretty sure I have 55 top 10s as well. Oh no, I have 64 top 10s. So never mind. I win. I thought we were close. I thought maybe we could start.
How many wins? How many wins have you got?
5. Yeah, I said that a minute ago.
5?
Yeah, and
I've got 8 top 5s.
So
it's kind of the same.
It's kind of the same, except I have 22 top 5s. But all of my wins, well, all except for the one where I won at Volusia, and you guys, I'll tell you about it as many times as you want to hear it. But the other 4, I'm fairly certain are, well, that's not true, because I won a couple of pro late races when that was going on, and I've won a couple of Roadrunner races. So it's probably 2 and 2 for those.
Yeah, so you're a shitty sprint car driver then.
Why do we have to keep ending these shows on such on such?
So that's probably a new IRLM fact. That's not even an improvement. It's been there. Click on your name and you can get your whole history. And every season, 2020 winner goes back to
we need
previous. It says previous seasons coming soon. This is an iRacing app.
Yeah, and the soon really should have a trademark beside it, because it's not a focus at this point. If somebody's interested how they did in any one particular season, feel free to message me and I'll let you know. I have a tool on the back end that I can do that, but I haven't bothered. You'd be surprised at how complex the code is to pull an individual driver's record, because all of the data is stored by individual races. So, like, even calculating those stats, I have to go through every season or every event in every season, pull the driver IDs from every event in every season, and then tabulate for that specific driver. So
databases are like this is a relational database. So there's all these tables that relate. But that you do something. What do you use? It's something really wacky.
No. So it's a relational database. So let's pause for just a moment. If you're not into nerd stuff, we appreciate you watching. We're going to close the show with some tech talk. But no, so I use what's called MySQL, So I use MySQL, and typically if I'm editing stuff on the back end, which I have to do from time to time, I use a tool called PHPMyAdmin, which basically gives your database a GUI, so you can go in and like actually see the data in a form. And so I use primary keys and foreign keys and all that stuff to relate everything together.
There was something else you were talking about the other day. It was kind of like some sort of spaceship thing.
Well, I am not doing anything with spaceships, but in order to store the data, what I do is I store it in an array. Because
no, it wasn't an array. It was another wacky word you used. It was some sort of I don't know. I'd never heard of it. It sounded like spaceship stuff.
Spaceship. I don't. Yeah. I have no idea.
We'll find out what it is. We'll have all sorts of information. You get all sorts of stuff about database here, but you don't get setups. Sorry, we don't know.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, I've won 5 races, but you're certainly not going to get anything from a guy with 55 top 10s and 206 races. So, we appreciate the effort, I guess, Roger. Yeah, that's what you get for calling me a crappy sprint car driver.
I think we're done.
I think we've embarrassed each other plenty.
We've got no content this week. We pretty much run out.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time.
Yeah, it's time. We appreciate everybody watching, just like they do every week. Again, I can't believe it's.
If you lasted this long, you're a masochist. That's all I'm gonna say. A Sunday morning masochist.
Yeah. So let's if you're still watching at this point, put the number 12 in the comments. I'm just curious. If you watched all the way to the end, put number 12 in there. It's completely random. I have no reason for picking that number, and that's why.
There might be a prize. There might be a prize.
There might be a prize. There's probably not a prize, but give it a shot and we'll see what happens.
And next week we'll be starting a GoFundMe page, so to get Preston's stick.
Just don't turn me into the FBI for some crappy reason. I'll figure out the stick.
They'll do it free. They'll do it for free, man.
Just keep me out of jail. That's all I'm asking at this point. I didn't do anything wrong, but just keep me out of jail. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, everybody. Take care.
Hey, everybody. This is episode 20 of the Pitside Podcast. Back here again, just like every week, with my buddy Roger Craig. This week, we're going to talk to... damn, I just forgot his last name.